Good afternoon, tubers. Matt M. Roy back once again. Well, you guys probably wondering why I'm doing a live stream this early, mainly because I don't expect to be here this evening. The whole family, we are going to our church tonight for something called a fall festival, which is actually a Halloween alternative, a Christian-based Halloween alternative where they have carnival type games. They have prizes. Yes, they do hand out candy. Um, but I wanted to share a few items with everybody. As a Christian, let me preface this by saying that I did used to celebrate Halloween in its current form, i.e., I dressed up, went out trick or treating as a youngster, went to all the houses, got the candy, came home, watched the scary movies, ate candy pretty much until I was in a diabetic coma, then woke up the next day and got on with my life. Well, as I got older, I started thinking more and more about what Halloween means and what it actually represents. I knew even as a youngster that Halloween was evil and was not something that God wanted me to be a part of. So I started doing more research, and as of about 2 years ago, I do not celebrate Halloween in its current form. In other words, I don't hand out candy. I don't dress up in scary costumes anymore like I used to. Um, if you are a Christian out there, and I know quite a few of you out there, my subscribers are Christians, you may want to stick around and hear what I have to say. I'm going to read a few items here. This first one comes from the History Channel about Halloween 2019. Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on the 31st of October, and Halloween 2019 occurs Thursday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the Celtic festival of Samhain. I think I'm pronouncing that right, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. We actually would call this the Holy Halloween, which was basically the day after the regular Halloween that most people celebrate. Called All Saints Day, incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows Eve and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festival greetings, donning costumes, in other words, wearing costumes, and eating treats. Now, let me go over here. Here we go. This is a 1 Thessalonians 5:21-22. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good, abstain from all appearance of evil. Now, this is actually coming from the Christian Assemblies International. And basically, the first blurb here is a celebration of evil. Halloween is a religious day, but it is not Christian. Tom Sanguit, a former high priest in Wicca, he said, a modern holiday that we call Halloween has its origins in the full moon closet of November 1st, the witch's new year. It is the time when all spirits, demons, are supposed to be at their peak power and revisiting planet Earth. So basically, you guys probably heard the traditions where all the evil spirits, all the ghosts, the dead come and rise on Halloween. Well, that's where that actually came from. Halloween is purely and absolutely evil, and there is nothing we have ever had or will do that will make it acceptable to the Lord Jesus. And that is why, in my experience, now that I know better, I will not celebrate Halloween. I will go to the alternatives like the fall festival that we do have at our church this evening. There are a lot of churches around the country that do something very, very similar to this. And Day of Death, Halloween has strong roots in paganism and witchcraft. It begins as the Druid festival of Samhain, The Celtics considered November 1st the day of death because in the northern hemisphere, this was the beginning of the winter. The leaves were falling and it was getting darker earlier and temperatures were dropping. They believe that their sun god, because they worshipped gods. They had the sun god, the moon god, they had the god of earth, and all these different gods. So they were pagans in right every sense of the word. Where we got here. The Druids also taught that on the October 31st of the eve of the feast, Samhain, assembled the spirits of all who had died during the previous year to return to their former home to visit the living. Now, there are different takes on that. Some people say they didn't have to die the previous year. They could have died pretty much whenever, and they would still be able to return on that Hallow Eve. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I just wanted to get my take on it out. I want to let you guys know why I don't celebrate Halloween anymore, and that is basically the reasoning behind it. Danny K, hey man, I finally caught your daytime stream. I took a vacation day. I'm staying in where it's warm. We got the first snow today in Illinois. Oh, I remember you telling me that. Jeff, I'm 100% Catholic, and our church celebrates Halloween every year with a costume party and trick or treat at the church. I don't see any problem with it. Well, if that's the way you feel, that's fine. I'm just telling you the most churches' take on it teaches that Halloween in and of itself is pure evil. I mean, you just have to read what Halloween is about. It is an evil, paganistic holiday, which is made to sum up demons and basically celebrate all things evil. Now, we're not even getting into the satanic side of it. I'm talking primarily of ghosts, goblins, the undead, zombies, and yes, the dead rising from the grave, which we know is only going to happen when Jesus comes down and takes all of his followers back up with him. But I'm not necessarily here to get into a religious debate. I'm just telling you why I don't celebrate it anymore. And to be honest with you, I don't think good Christians should either, because for those reasons. And what I will do, let me pull up the history real quick. I didn't mean to close those that quickly. I don't know why it's not coming up. But anyway, you guys can read it for yourselves. The History Channel, the meaning of Halloween 2019, and then if you just search the different religious websites, they will explain in depth more than I can why Halloween is considered an evil holiday. So let me know. I'm just curious. What does everybody have planned for today? You could tell me what you're going to do. It's not going to bother me at all. Just let me know what you guys wanted to do. I mainly needed to do a live stream today, but I'm not going to be here tonight. That's why I'm doing it in the afternoon. Jeff goes, I'm 100% Anglican. Every religion has beliefs, but ours is the same. We celebrate it here too. And you got to remember, they're really two different Halloweens. Even when I was young, there was the October 31st traditional Halloween, and then there was the November 1st, which was kind of considered the holy Halloween, where the Christians would actually celebrate it. But again, when I was young, bowing to peer pressure and pretty much doing what all my friends were doing, we would always go out trick-or-treating and celebrate it on the traditional October 31st. I don't do anything different than a normal day. Haha. Yeah, and when I was young, to be perfectly honest, I didn't really dress up in any scary costumes. Like I didn't have a Freddy Krueger costume, and I didn't dress up as Jason from Friday the 13th. I usually stuck to the more peaceful ones. I remember I had a Gumby costume. I dressed up as Teddy Ruxpin, if you guys are old enough to remember that from back in the 80s and early 90s. And I even had a old radio costume because I actually went in. I had a period in my life where I was collecting old tube radios, and Mom actually constructed a costume that made me look like an old radio. You're afraid of the skeleton? Uh-oh. Well, stay away from them then. If you go to your Halloween fall festivals at your churches, you won't see any skeletons there. You still have any radios? I do. They're way back in the storage in there. I need to go ahead and take them out because chances are they're going to need to have a lot of work done to them. Probably the tubes replaced, maybe some wiring. David New is here, says hi. That's okay. And again, if you guys missed this and you want to listen to what I had to say early on, you can go ahead and replay this once it gets re-uploaded after everything's done. Go look this up real quick. And it is very interesting when you look up the different Christian religions. A lot of them do celebrate it on the 31st. I'm reading that a lot of Baptists celebrate it, Methodists and different Christian religions. Now, when you talk about like evangelical Christians, basically what I consider myself, a lot of them don't, for the reasons that I stated before. But I'm not here saying that you shouldn't. You have to do what you feel is right. And if you feel that you want to celebrate Halloween in its natural state, that's okay. That's your prerogative. I'm just giving you the information, telling you what basically the Bible says about anything that's evil, demonic, or what have you. So kind of just take that as you will. David New goes, I'm going to stay home, but I'm going to play plenty of pranks. Pranks are fun. If they're in good taste and they're done safely, they can be really fun. I remember when I used to play on Dad when I was young. If I woke up before he would, I'd go into the bathroom and I would get the shaving cream, and he would always sleep with his hand like outstretched near the bedpost. So I would fill his hand with shaving cream, and I would take like a feather or something and I would tickle his nose, and then he would have shaving cream all over his face. That was one of the fun pranks. It is true that USA celebrate Thanksgiving more than Christmas. Well, Christmas is very big here. And believe it or not, I could talk all day about Christmas, but Christmas, also, at least the one that we celebrate, Jesus' birth, December 25th, actually, believe it or not, they created that day to compete against another pagan holiday, Saturnalia. You guys ever watch The Big Bang Theory? You can hear about that. But it's pretty much agreed upon that Jesus was born sometime in the summer, but we just picked that day to celebrate his birth, even though technically he wasn't really born on the 25th of December. David knew I already taped a pencil under one of the kitchen drawers and left it open. My mom will try to close it and we'll jam on her. That's a funny one. Heck, our drawers do that on their own now. We had too many knives in one drawer, and the one kept getting caught on the top. So every time you try to open it, you really couldn't. You had to open it, you had to put your hand in there, reach up, try to push it down, and only then could you open the door the rest of the way. Scott Keeley goes, I had an old Philips from the 60s. A lot of my radios are even older than that. Most of them are from like the 40s and 50s, but I need to take them out because I'm afraid at this point they're going to need a lot of work to get going again. They've probably been sitting in the storage in that closet I would say for about 10 years now, and they really shouldn't have been in there that long. I've just not had the time to pull them out and give them the love and attention they deserve. So once I get around to it, I'll let you guys know what still works. Paul Kane, Halloween is an old folk holiday in the USA more than anything else. Interesting. I thought there were other countries that celebrated it, but I know it's really big here in the States. Be interesting. Let's look at that. Countries that celebrate Halloween. Halloween is still widely celebrated today. It is a number of countries, Ireland, primarily Ireland, Canada, and the United States. And the traditions vary. Again, in the U.S., there's a lot less pranking now that goes on. It's more of or tricking, more or less. It's mainly so kids can get candy and rot their teeth out. Got 9 people here. I'm actually surprised. I didn't figure there'd be quite this many people available during lunchtime. All right, Paul, go back to work. Try not to work too hard unless you absolutely have to. All right, we got 10 people here so far. So we've had somebody talk. Who was it? Was it Paul Kane about? Oh no, David New talked about the pranks. Oh, don't say you don't have a life. David New. Well, you watch your mom's dogs. I mean, that's something there. I'll tell you, I could do with some more free time, to be honest with you. As of late, I have been working my tail off and getting ready to go out of town. It gets challenging at times. There is, especially when you're leaving for such a long period of time, 3 to 4 weeks, almost a month. There's so many logistical things you have to take care of. You got to make sure you have all your you got to make sure I have all my medications filled. Nothing major, but you got to think of stuff like that. You got to make sure that all of your clients here are taken care of if you're in business. You need to make sure that you don't have any doctor's appointments that you're going to miss, because nowadays, heck, they'll charge you $50 if you miss a doctor's appointment. I see Classic Mobile Home is here. Hey, Classic Mobile Home. Scott Keeley, I cannot find a job and live check to check at SUCKS. Yeah, it's hard. It depends on where you live in this country. Some places it's better than others. Dave New hopes MacArthur's elevators aren't pulling pranks on people by running extremely crappy. That doesn't happen just on Halloween. Maintenance is key when it comes to elevators, and I don't think they've been doing it. But in all fairness, MacArthur Center has been struggling as of late. They lost Nordstrom's, which was basically their biggest anchor store. Now all they have is Dillard's, and even Dillard's isn't doing too well right now. So if they lose that second anchor store, they're going to be in trouble. And that real estate is expensive. I can't even imagine what the center has to pay in taxes to Norfolk alone. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when places struggle like that, maintenance definitely takes a back burner. So actually goes, our economy is poor. Stuff is expensive. 4-pack of Energizer batteries is $8. Wow. I have to say that our economy here in the States has definitely been getting better over the last couple of years. The GDP has gone up. Unemployment is down, especially with minorities. So I have to say that things are definitely looking up, and I hope that trend keeps going up. Though there may be a slight recession coming, because when the stock market's up as high as it is now, basically as high as it's ever been, there's always a correction that inevitably comes. But the good news there is it usually doesn't last that long. It'll dip down maybe 1,000, 2,000 points, and then it'll usually just shoot right back up. And a lot of that actually has to do with the fact that people are just nervous. They're like, well, the economy's doing really good right now. And of course, human condition, when things are going really good, they're waiting for that bad thing to come along. And that's just kind of the way people think, actually. David News says, I prefer to buy stuff in store because you can actually see what you're buying. I agree there for most things. I buy all my clothes, my shoes, everything I buy in the store. I would never consider buying clothes online because I need to make sure they'll fit me. But the big problem is most people don't mind doing that now. And heck, there are apps on your phone that'll measure you like a tailor would, and you'll find out exactly what your measurements are. And you can order stuff online. So that's what's really killing brick and mortar businesses. And actually, to be honest with you, the businesses that are doing the best right now are the thrift stores and the secondhand shops, because people are really thrifty now. They know what it means to have struggled, and they know how. Most people know how to save a dime and just really don't care about buying new anymore. No, I don't think we'll get into another depression. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But I think a correction may be on its way, especially during the next election. That's going to be really, what's a good term? That's going to be like nose to the grind. So that's going to be really tense. We're kind of getting off topic here, but that's okay. I said what I wanted to say to start with. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll do this a few more minutes. I think I'm going to cut it off at 30 minutes because it's Halloween. Everybody has something they want to do today. I'm hoping that a lot of you might consider going to your church's fall festival, but whatever you want to do, that's fine. Our gas price is equal to $3.94 a gallon, a U.S. gallon. It's actually not as bad as it has been. You got to remember, I did spend quite a bit of my childhood summers in Quebec, and I remember the gas being awfully expensive. And I also remember that other things were like alcohol and tobacco were also very expensive in Canada versus the States. Scott Kelly, our church doesn't do that stuff. Might be something you want to talk about next time you go there. I mean, it's fun. We always have fun when we go there. And a lot of the kids from the neighborhood, yeah, they'll go trick-or-treating, but then they'll come to the fall festival. So they're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Dave New goes, I remember when Obama was in office, gas prices soared up to $4 a gallon. I think honestly, I think a lot of that had to do with the correction that was happening at that time. But then you ought to also remember they had the cash for clunkers going on around that time as well, where here in the States, they would buy up the old vehicles, the old gas guzzlers, to basically allow people to purchase a smaller, more efficient car that was subsidized by that program. And that way they could afford to pay the higher prices in gas. But I was never a big fan of the cash for clunkers. We lost a lot of very nice classic American-made muscle cars, SUVs, trucks, a lot of nice vehicles that didn't need to be disposed of. And for those of you who don't know what that was, basically, again, they would buy the vehicles back, the dealerships would buy them, and the government would basically subsidize the purchase of a new vehicle. Now, you had to buy in a certain category, had to have a certain amount of fuel economy. So generally they were Econo boxes like Toyota Priuses, was it Honda Civics? A lot of hybrids were sold during that. And the real sad part was the old vehicles that were traded in under that cash for clunkers, the engines had to be destroyed to make sure that those vehicles never got resold and put back on the road. They actually had a solution that the that the scrap yards had to put in. I think the scrap yards that they sent them to could do it, but I might be wrong. The dealers might have had to do it. But basically, you'd put it in with the oil, and it had abrasive material in there. You would run it, and it would seize the engine up. It was really sad, actually. Jason H., I never take my son to Halloween. Too many sickos out there. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy when I was young and trick-or-treated back in the 90s, where there are people that were tainting the candy. Now, that doesn't really happen anymore. And believe it or not, it never really did happen back then either. There's never been a documented case of a child or anybody getting sick from a piece of candy that they got from Halloween. That was all hype, but it actually got a lot of people really scared back in the 90s. I would say 80s to late 90s, pretty much my childhood. So one of the rules was right after I went trick-or-treating, I would have to come home, empty out my pillowcase, because that's actually what we used to get the candy back then, was a pillowcase. And mom and dad had to search through that candy, and they pulled out anything that wasn't sealed. So anything that was like homemade, or maybe the wrapper the seal had broken on it, they would pull that out and throw it out. And I didn't complain. I totally understood, because back then that was really scary. David New, it's so disappointing to see that. Yeah, I'm happy with my '06 Honda Odyssey. That's actually a nice van and runs great. Those were good years for the Odyssey. Anything like after 2004, the 2000 or 99 to like '04 Odysseys had transmission problems, but anything like after '05, they were pretty decent. As long as you took care of them, did all the maintenance, you were pretty much good to go. All right, here we go. I got to read this one. Scott Keeley, Matt, I'm going to say one thing. You should keep the LeSabre. You have a nice GMC Yukon and don't really need that Tahoe. Car is much cheaper alternative for around town. I understand where you're coming from. And yeah, I did consider keeping the LeSabre. Two reasons I think I'm going to be selling the LeSabre. One, it has a much higher resale value than the Tahoe. The Tahoe, I could probably only get about maybe $1,500, $2,000 if I was really lucky. My LeSabre, on the other hand, I could probably get more like $2,500 to $3,000 for. So I can actually make more money selling that. Number two, the Tahoe, believe it or not, does not get that bad of gas mileage around town. I've actually clocked it, and I can get between 15 and 17 miles to gallon around town if I drive carefully. Yes, granted, the LeSabre gets more like 20 around town, so there's about a 3 mile per gallon deficit between the two. And it is better on the highway, the LeSabre. But for the type of driving that I do and the work that I do, it is much better for me to have two bigger vehicles than to have the LeSabre, because LeSabre really can't handle a lot of what I have to bring back home on a weekly basis. That is the reason that I'm really looking to sell LeSabre. And yeah, I know a lot of you out there are like, yeah, I want to see you keep the LeSabre. Well, let me say this. For right now, at least until the beginning of next year, I am keeping all three. I am not in any rush to sell them. I'm not in like a financial pickle to where I have to sell one right now. So my decision might change. That's all I got to say about that. But for now, the three are staying. Scott Keeley goes, Honda still got transmission and engine problems now. Some of the more modern ones do, and they never had the strongest of automatic transmissions. If you watch Scotty Kilmer's channel, he'll tell you that he gets a lot of customers in with Honda Odysseys, Honda Accords with the automatic transmissions when they're going out. But that's usually a problem with the owner. They drive them too hard. I mean, if you drive any vehicle, if you're a lead foot and you slam the gas down, you pound through all the gears, yeah, you can ruin any transmission. But if you are a good conservative driver, somebody that drives the speed limit, doesn't abuse their vehicle, then they're fine. They can last many hundreds of thousands of miles. Scott Keeley goes, can't stand him. He only likes Toyotas and rips on everything else. He does have a Toyota bias. I have to say that does annoy me. Now, that being said, he is a very intelligent mechanic, and he has helped me out of a pickle many, many times. So I have to give him credit for that. No, Classic Mobile Home, we will not be derbying the Buick. I know you said that before. I will not be demo derbying that Buick. The only way I would ever do that, honestly, is if I got a sponsor, like somebody paid me a certain amount to do that and put it in a demo derby, because that is part of, how can I say this? That is part of my budget. In other words, that vehicle has value. If I was to demo derby that vehicle, it would not have any value anymore. So the only way that that would make financial sense to do would be if somebody out there, i.e., not necessarily a subscriber, but a company, was to sponsor me to modify that so I could put it in demo derby and pay me what that vehicle is worth. So once I do the demo derby, chances are I probably won't win. I wouldn't have that financial loss. So that would be the only way I would ever consider doing something like that. I like that, David New. You're absolutely right. For those of you who want to blow off a bunch of gas and whoever wants to ruin a perfectly good transmission, feel free to slam on the gas pedal and floor it. That is the easiest way to ruin a vehicle, and it amazes me. I see that on a daily basis here. People are, at least in my area, drive like that. From a stop, they'll slam the gas pedal to the floor, keep it there. You'll hear the transmission, the engine's roaring, the transmission's slamming. You'll be like, and they'll slam through all the gears. And all I'm thinking to myself is, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They're making some mechanic or some dealership at a mechanic at a dealership, and the dealership very rich, because I can guarantee you they're probably going through an engine every 2 years and probably a transmission every 6 months driving like that. Scott Kelly goes, I wouldn't be able to demo cars. I fall in love too much. And that's my take on it. I mean, yeah, if you have an old beater that's ready for the scrap heap, that is rotted out, it can't be made roadworthy, yeah, put it in a demo derby. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a nice vehicle like my LeSabre, which is immaculate, 141,000 original miles, 2-owner vehicle, interior and exterior immaculate, why would anybody want to demo derby that? I would rather sell that vehicle at a lower price to somebody that needs a nice, reliable car than to see it destroyed at a demo derby. There are plenty of old vehicles out there sitting in junkyards you could get running for a couple $100 and enter in a demo derby. You don't need to do that with a vehicle that is in excellent condition. Dave New goes, my mom has a Prius V or a Prius 5, and the battery on it failed twice. Those hybrid batteries are known to fail. You might get lucky. My aunt has owned 2 Priuses, I think an 06 and an 08, and she's gotten very lucky. They both have over 150,000 miles. I think one of them has closer to 200,000, and both are still running on the original hybrid batteries, and they work just fine. So it's kind of hit and miss. Though I will tell you, if you live in a colder climate, your hybrid batteries will not last as long as if you live in a warmer climate. Just the way it works with lithium-ion batteries. All right, everybody, I am ending this live stream. We have gotten way off topic, but I had fun. Hope you guys all did. Please continue to like and subscribe. And as always, have a blessed day and have a safe and wholesome Halloween.